You, Maid, come here. The sharp, commanding voice of Melissa Vanderbilt, daughter of one of the richest men in the city, sliced through the grand ballroom. Chandeliers glimmered above, their golden lights bouncing off crystal glasses and polished marble floors. The wealthy guests turned their heads in unison, curious to see whom Melissa had singled out. Slowly, a young black maid carrying a tray of sparkling water froze in her tracks. Her name was Amara Johnson, only 24, dressed in the plain black and white uniform of hotel staff. She lowered her eyes, clutching the tray tightly to hide the slight trembling of her hands. "Yes, ma'am," she whispered. Melissa smirked, her diamond earrings catching the light. "Put down that tray. Tonight we need some entertainment. My father says his guests must never be bored. So," she raised her glass dramatically, "you will dance for us." The guests chuckled, a few sipping their champagne with amused smiles. Amara's heart skipped. "Dance, ma'am? I can't." Melissa stepped closer, her perfume thick with roses and arrogance. "Oh, don't play shy. I've seen you humming to the music in the corridor. Surely a maid knows how to twirl a mop. Twirling on the floor can't be so different." The laughter grew louder. Amara's face burned. She wanted to run, but her supervisor stood in the corner, glaring, ready to scold her if she disobeyed. Reluctantly, Amara set the tray down on a side table. She folded her trembling hands before her apron and whispered, "What would you like me to do?" Melissa's eyes glittered mischievously. "The waltz. This is a ballroom, after all. Gentlemen," she looked around, "who will dance with the maid?" No one moved. Instead, a few snickered. "Come on," Melissa urged. "Don't be shy. It's just for fun." Finally, a smug young man, Melissa's fiancé, Richard Hale, heir to an oil empire, rose from his velvet chair. He was tall, impeccably dressed, his smile dripping with mockery. "I'll dance with her," he said, bowing theatrically, "for the sake of entertainment." Melissa clapped her hands with delight. "Perfect." The orchestra began to play softly, unsure of the scene unfolding before them. Richard took Amara's hand, squeezing it a little too hard. She flinched. "Relax, maid," he whispered coldly. "This is just a joke. Don't ruin it." Melissa stood at the center of the floor, watching with arms crossed as her fiancé led the terrified maid into position. As the music swelled, Richard moved confidently, but Amara stumbled, her nerves twisting every step. A few guests giggled, some even clapped mockingly. "Step left. No, your other left," Richard hissed, yanking her arm. Melissa's voice rang out, "Careful, Richard, she might step on your precious shoes." Laughter exploded across the ballroom. Amara's chest tightened, her vision blurred with unshed tears. Each wrong step, each chuckle from the audience carved into her dignity. "Keep going," Richard ordered harshly. "Don't make me look bad." Amara tried. She tried with all her heart, but the humiliation was unbearable. When the song ended, Richard released her with exaggerated relief. He wiped his hands on his jacket, as if touching her had dirtied him. The crowd clapped, not out of admiration, but out of cruel amusement. Melissa raised her glass. "Ladies and gentlemen, wasn't that delightful? A maid attempting the dance of the elite." Among the guests sat Henry Donovan, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, who was not as wealthy as the Vanderbilts, but respected in society. He had noticed Amara's trembling hands, her pain hidden behind silence. Unlike the others, his applause was absent. He watched with quiet unease. Melissa approached Amara again. "Well, maid, that wasn't so bad, though I doubt you'll ever be invited to a real ball." She leaned close, whispering cruelly, "People like you should remember your place." Amara lowered her gaze, forcing herself not to cry. She picked up her tray again and returned to the shadows of the hall. But deep inside, something stirred. Memories. A fire long buried. Later that night, when the ballroom emptied, Amara found a quiet corner in the staff quarters. She sat on a wooden stool, clutching her apron, tears streaming down her face. "How could they humiliate me like that?" she whispered. But as she sobbed, her mind wandered to her childhood. Back in her small town, before tragedy struck, Amara had been known not just as a maid's daughter, but as a dancer. Her late mother, a dance instructor, had taught her the waltz when she was only 7. Every evening they'd move gracefully across the cracked tiles of their little home. Her mother would whisper, "Dancing is not just steps, Amara. It's dignity. No matter what life takes from you, if you can dance, you can rise again." Those words echoed now like a heartbeat. For years, Amara had hidden that part of herself. Poverty, loss, and the struggle to survive had forced her to abandon her dreams. But tonight's humiliation awakened the memory. She clenched her fists. "They think I'm worthless. They think I'm a joke. But one day, they will see who I truly am." The next week, a poster appeared in the city square. Grand Charity Gala, featuring a national dance competition. Prize, $50,000 and a scholarship to the International Academy of Arts. Amara saw it while running an errand for the hotel. She froze. The letters seemed to glow. Her heart raced. Could this be her chance? But then doubt crept in. What if Melissa sees me? What if they laugh again? Still, the memory of her mother's voice grew stronger. "If you can dance, you can rise again," Amara whispered to herself. "I have nothing left to lose." That night, in secret, she began to practice. In the empty staff dining hall, long after everyone had gone to bed, she twirled to the rhythm of silence. Her feet remembered steps her heart had never forgotten. Grace returned to her body, one movement at a time. But fate is never simple. At the next Vanderbilt event, Melissa overheard 2 staff members whispering about Amara practicing dance moves after hours. Her curiosity turned into cruelty. "A maid who dances. How amusing," Melissa sneered. "We'll see just how far she thinks she can go." She began plotting, determined to crush Amara again, this time in front of the whole city. The grand ballroom glittered under the brilliance of chandeliers, laughter and music spilling across polished marble floors. Guests twirled in elegant waltzes, their gowns and suits creating a spectacle of wealth and vanity. But in the corner, just beyond the golden drapes, stood Amara, the young black maid, clutching a tray of untouched champagne glasses. "You, maid, come here," barked Madame Millie Harrington, the domineering matriarch of the wealthy Harrington family. Her jeweled fingers pointed at Amara as though she were summoning a servant, not a human being. The room fell silent, curious eyes turning. Amara froze, uncertain why she had been singled out. "You think you can stand there and watch us?" Madame Millie sneered. "No, tonight you'll entertain us. If you dare step onto this floor and dance this waltz—" She paused dramatically, her voice slicing through the silence. "Then you shall marry my son." Gasps filled the air. Guests exchanged shocked whispers. Some laughed, assuming it was a cruel joke. Others leaned in, eager for drama. Amara's heart thundered. She wasn't just a maid. She was once a champion dancer, though no one here knew it. Poverty and circumstance had buried her passion beneath endless days of servitude. Yet now humiliation stared her in the face. "Madam, she began, her voice trembling. "Dance, girl," Millie snapped, "or leave this house forever." Her son, Ethan Harrington, stood nearby, his jaw clenched. Unlike his mother, Ethan had always shown kindness to the staff. He watched Amara with conflicted eyes, half furious at his mother's cruelty, half desperate for Amara to seize her chance. The orchestra paused, waiting. Then, with a mocking smile, Millie signaled them. The first notes of the waltz swelled through the air. Amara stepped forward. The whispers grew louder. She's just a maid. This is disgraceful. What a spectacle. Her palms were sweaty, her knees weak. But as soon as she placed her hand in Ethan's, something shifted. His grip was steady, reassuring. "Ignore them," he whispered. "Dance like no one's watching." And then it began. Her body remembered what her soul never forgot. Each step, each turn flowed with grace. The crowd's mocking chuckles slowly faded into stunned silence. The maid was not stumbling. She was gliding. She was commanding. Gasps erupted as Amara twirled flawlessly, her dress swirling like silver fire beneath the chandeliers. Ethan moved in sync, guided not by skill, but by trust in her lead. For the first time, the ballroom was hers. "Impossible," whispered a guest. "She dances like a professional," said another. Millie's painted smile faltered. This was not the humiliation she had planned. As the waltz reached its crescendo, Ethan pulled Amara close. "Where did you learn this?" he asked softly. "My father taught me," she replied. Her eyes glistened. "We used to dance in the small theater he built for the community, until it was torn down. After he died, I had to work here to survive." Ethan's chest tightened. She wasn't just a maid. She was a woman of resilience, talent, and pride, forced into servitude by fate. When the final note rang, Amara ended with a flawless spin, her posture perfect, her spirit blazing. For a long moment, silence hung heavy. Then, applause, hesitant at first, then thunderous. Guests rose to their feet, clapping and cheering. But not Millie. She stood rigid, her face red with fury. "This is outrageous," Millie snapped, silencing the applause. "Do you fools not see? She is nothing more than a servant. A servant." But her words fell flat. The crowd had seen the truth. The maid was more dignified than any of them. A young woman in pearls whispered loudly, "I would give anything to dance like her." Another man muttered, "That was the most beautiful waltz I've seen in years." Millie turned on her son. "Ethan, you will not disgrace this family by entertaining this girl." But Ethan, standing tall, took Amara's hand before the entire hall. "Mother, tonight she has shown more grace and strength than this room full of so-called aristocrats. If dancing this waltz means marrying her, then so be it." Gasps again. Millie staggered, clutching her pearls. "You dare defy me?" "Yes," Ethan said firmly. "For once I will choose with my heart." But before Millie could retort, an older guest stepped forward, Mr. Reynolds, a respected lawyer and longtime friend of the Harringtons. "Millie," he said coldly, "enough of this charade. I know why you humiliate others, because you fear exposure." Millie's eyes widened. "What are you implying?" The crowd hushed again. Mr. Reynolds held up a stack of letters. "Your fortune, Millie. It was not inherited honestly. These documents prove years of blackmail, bribes, and hidden scandals. Tonight, while you mocked a maid, the truth finally caught up with you." The room erupted in shock. Guests whispered furiously, realizing the Harrington empire was built on deceit. Millie's mask crumbled. "No, this can't be." Amara stood frozen, stunned. All this time, the woman who belittled her lived in shadows, darker than any poverty. The police were called. Within hours, Millie was escorted from her mansion, her jewels clattering uselessly at her wrists. Ethan turned to Amara, his eyes soft but resolute. "You changed everything tonight. Not just for me, but for everyone who believed dignity belonged only to the wealthy." Amara, her heart trembling, whispered, "I only danced." "No," he said, "you proved that grace and strength come from within." The ballroom, once a place of arrogance, became a place of truth. The guests never forgot the night when a maid revealed herself to be a queen on the dance floor. And Amara? She was no longer invisible. She was a woman reborn, respected, admired, and finally free.